last lecture, we stopped at this slide, the taxation issue. I will just recap a little bit. Now, the issue of taxation is a bit tricky, and it's very often misunderstood. Many people think that being a waqf, it's always tax exempt. This is not the case. There are so many different rulings regarding the taxation of a waqf or awqaf. Now, as I said, not all waqf organizations are exempt from income tax. Some are, but quite a few of them are not. Particularly, if we are talking about a family waqf, more likely to be non-exempt if the beneficiaries are family members, because it would be just like a family trust and it will be treated as such, which means that any profits that are generated by this waqf or trust, if it is not distributed, it will be taxed at the waqf level. If it is distributed, it will be taxed at the recipient level. Now, some organizations, some waqf organizations are tax exempt, which means that any donation or income that they receive is exempt from tax, and this is a special concession from the taxing authorities if the objectives are altruistic or for social causes and so on, and are approved by the government. Some organizations, some waqf organizations have more than that. They are not only exempt from tax, also the donor can claim tax deduction for the donation that he gives, that he donates. This is brief. And I mentioned also that for awqaf that are, operating cross-border, they may be exempt in their home country, but they may not be exempt in the host country, or vice versa. So this is a recap on the last slide that I discussed in the previous lesson. Now I will continue with the issue of governance. The corporate governance for awqaf. Now, a key issue for waqf is the need for transparency and the assurance of the way the waqf assets and the waqf resources are managed in the best interests of the beneficiaries. Therefore, the effective corporate governance should ensure, first of all, why do they need it? It should that the waqf complies. First of all, the waqf being a faith-based system, social system. First of all, it should fully comply with the tenets of Sharia, and also with the law and conditions of the waqf deed. So, the corporate governance must ensure, first of all, that it complies with the Sharia, and also that the waqf deed and the conditions of the waqf are also well respected and applied. Number two, the corporate governance should ensure that the waqf is well managed and operated in an efficient manner. And also what's important, for the objectives of the corporate governance is that the corpus of the Waqf means the assets that, of the Waqf are preserved and the resources are used effectively, and they will continue to serve the beneficiaries. And what is also important, the corporate governance serves that the integrity and reputation of the Waqf organization are upheld, and that the objectives of the Waqf are advanced and they serve the purpose, and that also any problems are identified at an early stage and are dealt with appropriately. This is why we need the corporate governance for Awqaf, and that's what they are supposed to serve. Now, generally speaking, Awqaf organizations, they do have many similarities to commercial companies. How? In many ways, it may seem that there is little difference between a Waqf and the corporate world. Why? Because assets, Awqaf has assets, and these need to be managed. There are revenues to be earned. There are bills to be paid. There are risks to be avoided. So many things, that, like, so many of the issues that face the commercial world, they also face Awqaf. And therefore, when we are, comparing between a Waqf organization and a commercial company, we may think that we are comparing apples and oranges, but from this respect, we are not. Awqaf, they also, another thing, they do undertake a wide range of investment and business activities, such as investments, project management, fundraising, maintenance, and they have to maintain key banking relationships. The corporates, because of all this, because of these similarities, the corporate sector offers, a good model. Actually, it offers the most successful governance model to date, and Awqaf may adopt some of the concepts of the corporate world, and they can apply some of its commercial standards and benchmarks. There is a big issue, again, with the many Awqaf organizations, and this is actually they are being under control now. First, there is lack of uniformity in reporting their results, and many Awqaf organizations fail to produce financial reports. And this does, limits their accountability to the Waqifs, to beneficiaries, and to all other stakeholders. Many Awqaf organizations, smaller ones anyway, they use their annual reports as public relation tools. They design them so that they can appeal to donors and to potential donors and to supporters as an attractive entity for donor funds. This type of reporting is largely unregulated, and it leads to problems of comparability and reliability and control. Therefore, in order to correct this image and bridge the gap between Awqaf culture of philanthropy and the issues of organizational management, a suite of internationally recognized governance standards must be established and practiced. Fortunately, there has been lately some governance standards that have been issued. I will talk about this in greater detail in the next module that about corporate governance, but I will briefly mention here that the establishment of an Awqaf-specific code of governance requires time to evolve, and based on fundamental social values, Awqaf governance should consider first of all, the legal, the ethical, and human issues, and deal with how a Waqf organization should act to be transparent and accountable in its programs, assets, and resource management, fundraising. This is a big issue also. We'll talk about that later on. The financial management and also its non-financial performance. Now, I recall that the Central Bank of Indonesia, Bank Negara, actually has produced a document, and I was on their committee called Awqaf Core Principles, and it has a lot of governance issues. I will discuss this next time. And also, AWOFI, the Auditing and Accounting Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions here in Bahrain, they issued, a governance standard for corporate governance, specifically for the Awqaf sector. Now, the governance code, we must understand, that these standards, the codes of corporate governance, these are not legal documents, or they are not even regulatory requirements, at least at this stage. They only set, principles as a guidance for good management. Now, in order for these standards to be really applied, they have to be put into, they have to be given the force of the law, such that if there is a breach of a corporate governance for Awqaf, you are breaching the law at the same time. This is the only way to ensure that these governance standards are rigidly applied. So we'll, as I said, inshallah, in the next unit, I will discuss this issue, because it's an innovative thing that is now being introduced to regulate the Awqaf sector. Another, in this slide, I will discuss the issues of sustainability and profitability. Sustainability is broadly defined as the ability of something to maintain or sustain itself over a long period of time. By this definition, sustainability is not anything new for Awqaf. it is a system that pulls together a number of activities that Awqaf has been practicing for the last 1400 years. So if Awqaf has been there since the early days of Islam until now, it means, this is a sustainable sector. It demonstrates sustainability very well. Now, Awqaf foundations, like all organizations, they need revenues to sustain themselves. You know what I said? Excuse me. The system of Waqf has sustained itself, but not all Awqaf organizations, are able to sustain themselves. Excuse me a little bit. I need to clear my throat. Thank you. Actually, I have a touch of flu, that's why. Now, Awqaf organizations, like all organizations, they need revenues to sustain themselves and to fund their operations. They need to generate sufficient cash from assets in their custody, or if they don't have enough cash generated from these assets, they'll have to appeal to donors and benefactors to support them. But contributions, are, in many cases, they are uncertain and unpredictable. And as a result, the money that is received by a Waqf organization may not be, may not be sufficient to enable them to deliver on their missions. Now, actually, also because of many reasons, Awqaf, many of them have reported that there has been a noticeable drop in donor funds, and many of them are having difficulty in achieving financial sustainability. More Awqaf organizations, they are finding it necessary to expand their revenue base to include steadier forms of income, and that comes from, getting into commercial activity and investment. When they are doing this, matter of fact, their operations are spilling over into the competitive world of the marketplace, where they have to compete with the commercial sector. And this, at the same time, while it brings them additional revenues, but it also raises concern about the impact of such activities on the social mission of Awqaf, because it may really, divert Awqaf from their main mission, because they now have to concentrate on really how to compete in the marketplace and how to make money and so on, and that will distract them from their social work to some extent. Now, but one will have to ask a question: shouldn't Awqaf be profitable in order to be sustainable? Some people see that there is a conflict between Awqaf as a not-for-profit sector, and at the same time they are pursuing growth and profitability. Awqaf organizations, they have different purposes and processes for generating revenues. Their commercial activities should be complementary to their main core. And profitability is not their main purpose, and their ultimate goal should not be, financial. Making profit should be more of an outcome of what they do rather than a target. Yes, we have to make money, we have to compete, we have to do this. Okay. Awqaf's aim is to make their business profitable rather than making profit their business. The income is used to support their social work and their obligation for asset protection and management emphasizes the need for long-term viability rather than the pursuit of short-term profits. Awqaf stakeholders, they consist of groups and individuals of diverse nationalities, culture, age, education, and social and economic status. Such groups will have different values, different interests and goals and perceptions of acceptable performance. In responding to this list of stakeholders, Awqaf organizations may face a problem of balancing financial and operational objectives. Now, the financial objectives can be readily expressed in quantitative terms. We made that much. It can be something that you can count, something you can calculate. These are the financial objectives. They are easy to recognize and to control, but the operational objectives are more conventionally expressed in qualitative terms. There is a risk of overplaying the financial objectives at the expense of the operational objectives. And this way, you are inducing a form of a role reversal where the Waqf social objectives support the financial objectives, and this is very dangerous, rather than the financial objectives supporting their social work. Thus, Awqaf organizations must seek a balance between being financially efficient and being socially effective. Now, there is little use in being a highly cost-efficient operation if the organization is proving to be ineffective in delivering social services. Likewise, an Awqaf organization that is highly effective in meeting its operational objectives, but is inefficient financially, it soon finds itself unable to continue delivering its services as its resources drain to critical levels. Now, the difference between, or the split, the dichotomy between sustainability and profitability is false. There is a misconception among some people that because an organization is a Waqf, it should not seek profits. Some stakeholders believe that Awqaf organizations should break even or distribute the surplus if there is one. It means they should not retain any money, because this is any money they make should be really spent on their beneficiaries or on their social programs. They are not supposed to retain any money. This is what some people think, and quite a few of them. Now, the main difference between Awqaf and the private sector is that in the corporate world, the surplus, if there is a surplus, it's used to create individual wealth. In Awqaf, the surplus is used to accomplish a mission. The Waqf is seen as a flow-through entity. That is, it's it's a conduit of income to beneficiaries, and it's not something that you should keep in the organization. This is some view, but responsible Awqaf organizations do take a long-term view when investing, and their investment strategy aims at not only to preserve the capital, but also to lead to capital appreciation and income generation that enables them to realize their mission well into the future. Achieving financial sustainability is a goal that all Awqaf organizations should strive for. Imagine, for example, if there is an orphanage, for example, that's operated by a Waqf organization. Now, if it does not have any surplus money, surplus funds to meet its ongoing operations, it'll soon has to be forced to close down that orphanage, and therefore you are withdrawing a very good, social service. The inability to access any surplus funds from any reserves may result in the withdrawal of a much needed community service. Awqaf business ventures can be a powerful complement to their activities as they advance the Awqaf social mission and the community's financial sustainability by creating jobs. This is the answer to all those people who are against, Awqaf getting into, the commercial activities. But by doing so, they are creating jobs, they alleviate poverty, and they are growing the economy. Awqaf businesses are becoming recognized as the enterprise that directly ties the investment with Awqaf's ultimate goal of creating social value. I will now talk now about how to evaluate Awqaf. There are certain standards. Performance evaluation of Awqaf. This entails a regular review of a Waqf organization's compliance, performance, and contribution to society. Performance evaluation helps determine the extent to which the Waqf achieved its goals and its management accomplished its responsibility. Performance evaluation is important because, first of all, it helps to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the Waqf and its management team. Number two, to determine the effectiveness of its operational strategies, asset management, fundraising, and ability to attract new Waqifs, new donors. Monitoring and evaluation can often be seen as the same thing. However, monitoring can be defined as real-time collection of information which allows for immediate action. That's when you are doing monitoring. But evaluation is something that is done on a specific occasion, like the end of the year, or after the completion of a certain project. The unavailability of reliable databases for Awqaf as a sector. Actually, this is a big problem, to have a reliable database of Awqaf, because this is a dynamic sector. There are always, new Awqaf being added, other Awqaf that, somehow or other they are lost, or they change form or change, their structure, or vacant land may become, a big project. So the database is something dynamic, and unfortunately, many Awqaf, many countries, they don't have a reliable database for their Awqaf. And if they do have one, it's hardly, it's not updated on regular basis. And even the values, if we say, okay, the Awqaf is, we have so many blocks of land or so many acres of agricultural land and so on, that is, these change, and also their values change, and therefore the database is very important and it should be updated. So the availability of a good, reliable database for the Awqaf sector is very important, and there is also lack of useful published information by Awqaf peer groups, which makes comparison to a recognized and acceptable benchmark unfeasible. You see, in the corporate world, there are, syndicates and so on, and we know that, for instance, the industrial sector is contributing this. There are, benchmarks that are very well recognized and measured. This is unfortunately not the case in many countries in the Awqaf sector, because you see, databases are the first source of knowledge about a sector's performance. The first thing you run to is to see what the database. Therefore, in the absence of a sector's database and peer benchmarks, the evaluation of a Waqf organization performance can only be done by using your own data. I cannot benchmark my performance as a Waqf organization to others. And therefore, what can I do? The only thing that can be done is I can compare my performance to previous years, that I'm doing better or I'm doing worse. But I don't know whether I'm doing as well as another Waqf organization of a similar size and so on. Therefore, databases are very, very important, and benchmarks are also very important for measuring performance and evaluating the Waqf, operations. Benchmarking against past performance is more relevant and gives more accurate metrics for comparison. No two Waqfs may be the same. We agree that, okay, I cannot, compare myself fully to another organization because each one may have different purposes. And also, Awqaf organizations come in different sizes with different asset classes, different Waqf conditions. You see, different beneficiaries and different goals from each other. Therefore, looking at their own past performance may help them to improve their efforts for the future. A key performance indicator, the KPIs, are built around three basic measures: risk management, profitability, and social impact. A Waqf performance can be evaluated by measuring the following indicators. First of all, how we are going to evaluate. First of all, we want to evaluate the Sharia and legal compliance. Awqaf is part of the Islamic financial system. This requires Awqaf organizations to fully comply with all aspects of Sharia, legal, and governance matters. The extent of compliance can be ascertained from the reports issued by the Waqf Sharia Board and the organization's internal and external audits. Number two, preservation of Awqaf assets. How do we measure? This is measured by the amount spent on maintenance and rehabilitation compared to the average of growth in size and value of Awqaf assets. A third evaluation is through the profitability benchmark. How do we measure this? By the average actual returns on investment expressed as a ratio or percentage, and benchmark to a budget or to a previous year's results. Number four, risk-related investment of Awqaf assets. These are measured by the degree of risk tolerance. Risk tolerance for Awqaf should be conservatively low. Awqaf should not take high risk like the private sector can do. This is reflected by the type and degree of portfolio diversification across asset classes, sector diversification by location, and also international diversification. As I said, risk issues for Awqaf is something that is very important, because the first obligation is to preserve what you have. You cannot take risk with that. And therefore, the answer to this when it comes to investment is diversification. Don't put all the eggs in any one basket. And if you put them in number of baskets, you have to watch each basket. Number five, balance of general interests of beneficiaries. Balance of generational interests of beneficiaries. Now, Awqaf is a transgenerational system. The beneficiaries change from one generation to the other. And therefore, when we are talking about Waqf, we are talking well into the future. A Waqf, is something, perpetuity is one of the principles of Waqf, and therefore we are looking into an infinite period of time ahead. So the generational interest of beneficiaries is very important. And how do we measure this? We measure it by degree of investment tenors. We have short-term investment, medium-term investment, and long-term investment. And we keep rolling them over as we go along. And this is how, when we are auditing or when we are evaluating a Waqf, we look at, these staggered investment periods. In Awqaf strategies, investment strategies, short-term investment refer to investments which are undertaken to yield returns that meet the current beneficiaries, the current needs of beneficiaries. Typically, these investments are held for periods ranging from 5 to 10 years, but can be sold or redeemed on demand within a shorter period if necessary. Long-term investment refer to investments which are held for longer periods with the intention of benefiting future generations. Long-term investment strategies are typically value and growth-oriented. Okay, when we invest, because you do not want the investment to depreciate over a period. You want it to appreciate, and therefore you have to look at the growth potential of the investment, not only the return. Number 7, contribution to environmental protection. Awqaf are also, concerned with the environment, and this is measured by the role played by the Waqf in environmental conservation. Representative environmental concerns for Awqaf include water pollution, forestry, flora, fauna, and land use. Actually, Awqaf, since their assets, the bulk of Awqaf assets are land and forests and agricultural land. So the issue of water resources, water pollution is very important. Forestry is very important. The flora, the fauna, the land, the way you use the land use is very, very important. Therefore, the environment for Awqaf is a very vital thing. And even, when Awqaf is, let's say, have a downtown a plot that is developing it into a building, they have to be careful about, noise and dust and so on. And and there are always environmental issues, even with with city blocks. Number 8. In the evaluation, we have to keep employees and volunteers feeling fulfilled and engaged. You see, this is, keeping employees and volunteers engaged in Awqaf is, manpower in Awqaf is one of the very, very serious issues to maintain people, because people who are employed with Awqaf, many of them they use it as a stepping stone to go somewhere else, with better pay or with more promotional, prospects and so on. And therefore, you have to keep the employees being recognized and feeling fulfilled and engaged. And this, how do we measure this? We measure it by the degree of staff satisfaction and retention. And we also look into the volunteer turnover. Turnover of staff and volunteers does not reflect a healthy condition, nor does it send a favorable message about the organization being an attractive place to work in. High staff turnover in Awqaf is a problem attributed mainly to low pay, and Awqaf find it difficult to pay the same wages as the commercial companies. To be realistic, employees in Awqaf are driven mostly by their own altruistic objectives and their own calling, and Awqaf can build on that. Volunteers, on the other hand, are recruited without being informed of their role or the organization, what the organization expects of them. Therefore, it is difficult and unfair to blame them for their limited involvement. To keep, I wrote something about this, to keep volunteer being feeling fulfilled and engaged, a Waqf organization should provide new recruits with a proper orientation and training, and treat them as part of the entity, not as transient individuals who are here today and gone tomorrow. So manpower in Awqaf is very important, and evaluating the staff and volunteers is very important in knowing the health of the Waqf organization. Number 9, stakeholder satisfaction. You see, not only the beneficiaries have to be satisfied, but all stakeholders. And this is measured by the quality of responsiveness to questionnaires that ask stakeholders to rate their satisfaction on a numerical scale. Many organizations, they do put on the internet, or they send questionnaires and ask the stakeholders to please rate. Are you satisfied in this? What do you think of this? Good, bad, indifferent, excellent, poor, this, and so on. And people tick. And this is one way of really measuring the satisfaction of stakeholders, and this will determine the quality of the organization's relationship with its stakeholders. Number 10, I call it reliability and validity. These are important aspects of Awqaf performance. Measures to assess the level of reliability and validity in Awqaf organizations, they include all material matters, positive and negative, in a balanced way without material error. Reliability is measured by the degree of consistently achieving the desired result under different circumstances. There will be more than one way for Awqaf to intervene and find a way to deal with the situation. Validity is measured by the factual evidence of achievement of the desired result. As a sector that is intertwined with charity and benevolence, managerial success is difficult to evaluate. No matter how many indicators are grafted into the performance review. However, performance evaluation highlights the importance of internal and external audit, and this leads to better adoption of corporate governance practices, enhances the disciplinary process in the organization, and improves the understanding of the issues challenging it. This is all I have for this unit, for this lesson, and for this module. Inshallah, in the next module, I'll discuss the issue of corporate governance, as I said, for Awqaf, its rationale, the structure, the core principles, and the policy implication. The lesson will be based on two documents. First, on Awqaf's corporate governance standard GS13, which was issued last year, and also on Bank Negara Indonesia's which is called Waqf Core Principles, which was prepared jointly by a group of international experts, and also with Badan, Waqf Indonesia, and the Bank Negara. So until next time, thank you very much, and I hope that this unit explained the Sharia and the legal matters concerning the Awqaf sector. Thank you very much, and we'll stop here.